Welcome back to the Lap Podcast. I'm Tristan Rines alongside the one and only Khaki, Kevin Walker. We are hosting your Destination Formula One podcast. We're heading into the Austrian Grand Prix. We've got a lot to talk about. McLaren seeing a great opportunity to rebound following Canada. Max Verstappen's going to have to police himself pretty hard this weekend. Williams have a key extension in the books and so much more. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe to the channel. Follow us if you're on the social medias or scrolling at the bottom of the screen below. But definitely give us a subscribe. Costs you absolutely nothing at all to help support the channel and puts us in front of other Formula One fans just like yourself. We just crossed the 50 mark a little while ago. We just hit 60. We're trying to get to, what's the number? 69 subscribes?
By the end of the month, all right? We got a couple of more days. I know y'all can do it. We're at 60.
Come on.
So we've hit 10 within a week. Just give me 9 more. Obviously, we'll take more. Just a couple more days. Let's hit that 69 number so we can all collectively say, nice.
Nice. So yeah, if you're a fan of the channel, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you really like the content, give us a like and maybe even share us with your friends if you're feeling dangerous.
Man, let's do it. I'm absolutely pumped for this. I actually prepped for track talk. I'm gonna blow Tristan's socks off today.
He's setting the bar really high.
I woke up super early to do prep. I mean, let's do it. I'm on the ball. Let's talk about some Austria. Let's talk about this Red Bull.
He's had had his Red Bull for the day. He's pumped.
Ironically, have not had a Red Bull today. I did not have a Red Bull today.
Red Bull sponsor the podcast. We got the colors going on in the background too for the Red Bull ring, but
you continue to kill it with these backgrounds. Man.
I appreciate it.
I'm saying, and also just a programming note going forward, if opportunity is there, going forward on race days, on Sundays, stay right here because we're going to be recording our reactions either collectively or one-on-one and posting it to the channel. It won't be an official episode. It won't be super long. Nothing to take up your entire day. Just a quick reaction just to carry over, stay in the algorithm, stay in y'all's ears, stay in front of y'all's faces. And then we'll keep recording on Wednesdays as normal. But just a quick programming note. Sundays, race days in general.
Yeah,
we'll be posting.
Get the notifications on. If you get the notifications on, you're going to know every time we drop that.
Keep the noties on. I'll be doing it this weekend, so that way you can agree, disagree. Always be sure to comment. Without a further ado, though, let's get into this.
Yeah, I know we're talking about the Red Bull Ring. This is the Red Bull Racing Team's home Grand Prix in Austria, but I don't want to start there. I want to start with Mercedes and the question.
Big surprise.
I want to start with the question: can Mercedes repeat their performance from Canada?
No, I don't believe so. I think if you're Mercedes, I think your shift focuses now to securing podiums. That goes for Kimi and that goes for George. Not to say they can't compete for race wins, but I think to have the expectation for Mercedes to repeat as winners or repeat as double podiums is a little bit high expectations for a car that, not that they've been doing bad, but they weren't eyeing race wins, say, 3-4 weeks ago. Matter of fact, Kimi was in a rut, and George was kind of just doing his thing in 4-5. So to say that they need a repeat of a race win or double podiums is a little high. I would say if you're Mercedes, you definitely need to be focusing on trying to secure max points, trying to secure podiums, and then you see what happens from there.
I think overall, we just don't have a trend. Like, we got this one-off win in Canada. We saw George Russell have a really impressive race. And to be completely fair, and I said it last week, I think George is driving the hell out of the Mercedes this year. He's been incredibly impressive. And seeing the trajectory of where this season could go, he could be fighting for P3 alongside Max Verstappen, which, I mean, that's going to be fireworks the rest of the way. It's going to be must-see TV, even if it's not fighting for race wins directly. But, yeah, we just need to see a trend. Mercedes aren't even sure that what they have upgrades wise are going to carry over directly into every single style and format. The track specific layout in Canada worked really well with what Mercedes have. They favor a lot of the slower speed cornering. It's a little bit cooler temperature wise there. I think the average temperature was like 77 degrees over the course of the weekend. Yeah. A little bit warmer on Sunday, but a lot of things were kind of leaning into Mercedes' historical favor. Am I going to completely rule them out at the front? I don't think that it would be. I think that it's a bit unfair to rule them out completely, but I'm not going to favorite them.
Yeah.
I don't think George Russell's going to jump to the front every single week the rest of the way. This weekend, if anything, is another huge test for Mercedes because they got a great win, but they don't know how much of this carries over into a much higher speed format, higher speed cornering that we get in Austria, slower speed cornering in Canada. Again, just played right into the characteristics of what this team does well, at least within this regulation set. I think the definition of the weekend could very well be what it has been all season, which is whoever comes out on pole in qualifying, whoever starts out front is going to have the best run of the weekend as long as they survive turn one.
Now, another thing to keep in mind here, and you talked about them kind of being all over the board, no real consistency when it comes to Mercedes this year. Don't forget, and I know you won't forget, Kimi won a sprint already this year.
You got a sprint pole.
A sprint pole, excuse me. So, another sprint weekend this weekend in Austria, if you didn't already know. So much to be excited for Mercedes. I would say, again, just re-solidifying that they've already, announced, and I think you even said it last week, 60-40 more towards 2026 than what they're currently doing in 2025.
That's not to say they aren't going to bring any upgrades.
Right. No, of course. But where they're, where most of their resources are going, most of their time is going. And yet they're still doing an incredible job in 2025 and, just continue to try to solidify themselves in the second place for the constructors.
Yeah. So as far as what we're going to learn from Mercedes this weekend, I think you just chalk it down into a couple of different areas. First off, it's tire degradation, higher temperature tire degradation, harder fast corners, in Austria are going to be a big emphasis here. I know that a lot of the name of the game in Formula One, especially in recent history, is clean air and tire deg. McLaren have absolutely kicked ass at doing both of those things, getting out in front, staying out in front with great tire degradation quality. But if Mercedes can at least get the degradation down, I think that gets them at least a little bit more into this picture. The upgrades seem to have worked. They feel really happy with them. They just need more data. As far as the expectations, I think I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to expect George Russell to hit the front row. He performed well last year, given the circumstances. Yeah, I think he started in P3. That P3 netting a race win after the collision out front between your boy and Max Verstappen. So, and that got them their first win of the season last year before having that nice run from Silverstone and then still collecting the win in Spa. Expectations aren't super high. I think that George Russell, I wouldn't bank it, but is going to be a contender for P3 at the very least. And they seem right now that they're in a good place car-wise. I think Kimi Antonelli would be an interesting person to land P5.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. If I tell you both Mercedes end up in the top 5, what are your takeaways from the weekend?
It's a good weekend.
I would say that's a great weekend.
That's a positive weekend. I think, and we're going to get to McLaren here in a few moments, but McLaren should still be the general favorites. They talked a lot about how in Canada that they just didn't quite suit that track. Their car wasn't really built for those kinds of conditions. And they just kind of had struggles when it came to setup all weekend anyway. We know how tight the margins are this year at the front of the field between Red Bull, between Mercedes, between
Max Verstappen.
Between Max Verstappen, McLaren, and Mercedes, where the setup specificity could make a huge difference over the course of your entire weekend. If you're just having a lot of questions walking into a Saturday, qualifying Saturday, you don't have a lot of answers, you're probably not going to be in the race, win category. But talent can overcome some things, Max Verstappen. But at the end of the day, having a good setup is going to be the name of the game. Even with these upgrades Mercedes have, I think they still kind of have to nail it and have to hope McLaren are at least questioning what they're doing. So if you are, honestly, I just want to know, what do you think McLaren and Mercedes are going to be doing this weekend? Does Mercedes have a chance to grab another podium? Do they fall back in this heat? Let us know in the comments. Speaking of McLaren, though, how does Lando Norris respond after an embarrassing end to the Canadian Grand Prix?
Embarrassing is not the word I would use.
I would call it embarrassing.
Of course you would. I'm the Lando truther and you're the Lando hater, and that's how this thing coexists.
Whoa, what level of misinformation is happening
here? Oh, misinformation, ass.
I am reporting it as
you get off on watching me pump up Lando Norris just to tear me down.
I'm not going to deny that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I know you won't. Anyway, again, I wouldn't say embarrassing. I would say a miscalculated, risky move.
Tried to pull a Lightning McQueen running up against the wall.
Yeah. He's just mowing the grass, man. That's all it was.
He's kissing the back of his teammates' left rears. Anyway, how's he gonna follow it up?
On that note, Look, I think that this track suits McLaren extremely well. I think this is a track that both of McLarens can be. You want to bounce back weekend if you're McLaren. This is the weekend to do it. This is a track that suits them well. I think this is a track that both Lando and Oscar can really shine in. I think from the beginning in Canada, it just did not look like their weekend. And, well, as things progressed, other than that last 15 lap stint that Lando had where he was really turning it on and he was, right behind Oscar and he was fighting for a potential P3 or, who knows. Other than that, it was not McLaren's weekend. It did not look like it had earlier on in the year, like it did in Canada. So Austria could be very good for McLaren. I'm very excited.
But as far as Lando
specifically, I don't know, man. I really don't. I think that at this rate, Lando could net a win. He could end up P5, or we could get a 1-2. I honestly don't know. This rate,
I'd be surprised if he had.
He's been all over the place, man. He went from
the world championship favorite to open the year.
I'm not even talking about world championship favorite. We're not talking about betting odds here. I'm just saying he went from stacking together wins to falling off the edge of a cliff to winning Monaco and then wrecking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you can get from Lando at this rate.
Not consistency.
I mean, sure, that's fine. Yeah, you can say that's fine. You can say he's not a consistent driver.
At least not with this kind of pressure on him. But I think the overall, for me, when it comes to Lando Norris, I don't expect him to have back-to-back blunders like he did in Canada. I don't think it's going to happen 2 race weekends in a row. They have that nice weekend off, get a little bit of a reset. However, I think he does have to regain some confidence. If he's going to walk into Austria this weekend, I think for him, it's about netting just a general best result. Landing on a podium would be fantastic for Lando Norris. I would be surprised if he's fighting directly at the front, starting P1. Obviously, he was fighting at the front last year with Max Verstappen before that incident. Obviously, he didn't get a chance to finish that race because, his tire connecting with Max Verstappen. Max able to finish that race, questionably penalized for that race. But I don't think that Lando's quite my contention to win. And I just think it's a rebuild weekend for him. Overall, making a poor judgment in Canada, making that mental error and getting a little bit too aggressive against your teammate. He took it all on the chin. He was incredibly accountable for it, which we praised him plenty on this podcast, and other members of the media have too. But if I'm Lando Norris, just take away the best possible points, try to fight for a podium. P3, P2 would be fantastic, but I just don't see him following up Canada with a race win. If he does, I'd be surprised, pleasantly surprised even, because it keeps this championship interesting.
It just means that he'll just keep getting punched, but he's not going to go down.
Exactly. So it keeps things conversational. It doesn't let Oscar Piastri run away with it. I think there's 22 points that separate them right now in the Drivers' Championship.
Yes, I want to say that that's an accurate statement. Yeah, 22 points. But while you're talking about that, I just want to look at I'm going to look back at my notes because I think this really sums it up perfectly for McLaren. I wrote, this weekend, in all caps, will not be a slam dunk for either driver. Just focus on max points, and a good, maybe not great weekend will be in store.
I think I kind of disagree, though. I think that Oscar is still in the running to win. Now, that's a boring statement to make. I get it. He's been dominating all year. He's got the most race wins. He's leading the damn championship. So saying that itself isn't a novel idea. However, he still finished the race last week, and McLaren still had the best car generally across this season. I think Oscar Piastri also has something to prove going into this race, because if you remember qualifying last year, he lost out on qualifying in P3 by this much on review.
Yeah.
This much. So he dropped down from P3 to P7. That much of a margin could have been his first race win, by the way, in Formula One.
He finished second behind George.
Exactly. So having that much of a margin, him chasing George Russell pretty much the entire day at that point last year, if the McLaren of Lando Norris and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen do not crash like they did last year, and if he has that much more tire covering off the white line, so to speak, he wins that race last year. He performed well in the sprint as well. And I think that he walks into this weekend with something to prove. The major improvements in qualifying this season, I think Oscar Piastri should be considered the front runner for this weekend's Austrian Grand Prix. That's my two
Now,
cents.
here's the last thing that I'll say. When I read off what I read, I guess in a more simpler term, just focus on the basics. And for Oscar Piastri, that could mean just, hey, just go out there and be Oscar Piastri. And that could mean a race win. I'm not saying, hey, don't be risky or don't drive. Like, just focus on the basics. Let's not do anything ultra risky. Lando Norris. Let's not do anything that's going to jeopardize the team going forward. We just need a good bounce back, focus on the basics. Let's go be McLaren again kind of weekend. And I think if you do that, you gain max points. You know, you look forward. I think that's what they should do.
And I want to hear from you guys. You let us know what you think is going to happen this weekend down in the comments, especially when it comes to McLaren. Which of these two drivers is going to come out in front? I certainly think it's going to be Oscar Piastri. I think you probably feel similarly. It kind of sounds like
we'll
that.
see. I haven't made up my mind.
I know you're an absolute believer in the LN4 army.
Yeah, I need to try that monster. That thing looks toxic, but I need to try it.
It's like the
Lando Norris monster drink.
That like that nuclear waste.
Yeah, literally, that's what it looks like.
What do we? We were watching me and so forth. Can't help it. But I want to
let us know. Let us know what you think, and I will beef with you in the comments respectfully.
Speaking about getting max points this weekend, Max Verstappen is 1 penalty point away this weekend from a potential race ban. I think it's something worth talking about. If he grabs one more, the consequence being that he's not going to make the British Grand Prix. He will effectively have hit that 12 strikes point and will miss out on an entire Grand Prix weekend, which could really shake things up from a narrative standpoint as far as it concerns, the Red Bull driver lineup. We might see a much too early debut of Arvid Lindblad. But
you got that one down. You got that name down.
Thank you. But Max has a long history of success at the Red Bull Ring. He has the most wins at the Austrian Grand Prix in its history. We'll get there. Max is probably going to be a little bit advised on race day, and this also carries into the sprint, to just keep it in mind. I don't expect Max to necessarily change his driving style. Knowing Max, he's very much so a heat of the moment kind of guy. He's insanely talented. You can't rule him out for a possible race win this weekend.
I just say what you mean. He gets pissed off.
He gets pretty pissed. But
especially in a lawnmower.
But overall, I think it's got to be at least in the back of the mind of everybody at Red Bull. Oh, no restrictions, but try not to, try not to slam into George Russell. Just try your best not to do it.
Or try not to get George Russell to slam into you. Here's what I got.
Sure.
He's at home. You already stated 5-time winner here at the Red Bull Ring, more than anyone else ever in the entire history since 1970 when the track was built.
I thought it was 4.
4 or 5?
4. I have it in my notes.
We're going to edit that out.
No, we're not.
Nevertheless.
He said he was prepared.
Nevertheless. I did at 5 in the morning. I could have been tired. Whatever. He's at home. You can never, ever count out Max Verstappen. Even in the little Tykes car that he's driving this year, he's still stacked together some wins. He's at home. You can never count him out. And I think it's very simple to say that he's always going to drive like penalty points just don't exist. That's just how Max Verstappen is.
What are the general odds like that he picks up his final penalty point this weekend? Though?
I don't think it'll happen.
Like at all? 0%?
I think
I don't think it's a 0%.
I don't think it's a 0, but I don't think it's a high likely possibility, because even if he does do something, what are the actual chances that the FIA actually storms down on Max? Unless it's just absolutely egregious.
I mean, that kind of leans onto a bit of a TikTok comment.
But if it's a 50-50, then
you don't think, all right, there's gamesmanship here. Because obviously we saw what George Russell did towards the end of the Canadian Grand Prix where, he hit the brakes to pull away from the safety car. And they argued about it. Right? But some gamesmanship in general. You don't think that somebody is going to be
George Russell
trying to bait him?
George Russell's going to
or Lando Norris.
Nah, I don't think Lando would do it. Lando's not the baiter kind of guy. Like we've seen him. He's not going to do that. George, yes.
I mean,
one of the Ferraris, maybe. You can see Lewis doing a little something.
Maybe a little Charles getting a little
sniff,
a
little close there.
I'm just saying. All it takes is a little poke of the bear. All it takes is a little poke.
Literally, like maybe they just try to fight Max.
But speaking of Max, by the way, on a completely separate note, dude, that helmet's sick.
Oh, the helmet's absolutely gorgeous.
And we're gonna have to toss that up for at least the short.
Yeah,
because
well,
like that thing is gorgeous. I wish you'd make it as full time because that is
it's pretty close to what we got here, to be honest. Other than I don't know how much yellow is on it.
It's got orange instead of
it's
red.
so nice.
It's beautiful.
So nice. Which is so off brand for Max because he's not like a flashy.
I actually disagree with you on this. I don't know if you know, because he's had some pretty sick helmet designs in the past. He had a really good one at Miami last year. His championship helmet for his 5th championship was also pretty sick too. He's had a few.
Okay.
He's had a few.
Nevertheless, this one's by far my favorite. Wrapping up on Max. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna drive like penalty points don't exist. While I don't think there's a 0% chance that he gets this final penalty point, I think at the end of the day it's gonna be fine.
Okay. Well, huge news for your boys, by the way. Williams,
my second team,
his second team, ladies and gentlemen. He's lining up.
Come on, we know what this was.
For another team in the next regulation when McLaren fall off the face of the. I'm kidding. Look, huge news for the Williams racing team, extending team principal James Vowles. I'll just have to wait for this water. Huge news extending team principal James Vowles. He got a multi-year extension per reports. Currently, Williams are in 5th place in the constructors. Your call early in the year, before the season even started, that
it was a crazy man.
He was a crazy man at the time, and who knows? Maybe Aston Martin proved me right.
No,
but
they won't.
Williams appear to be ahead of schedule on their ascendance in pursuit of reclaiming their, race-winning potential of yonder days. Vowles has been instrumental in the Williams turnaround since taking over for Claire Williams in 2023. He's been targeting overall infrastructural improvements since his takeover, upscaling the facilities, equipment, staff, and even the drivers, with Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz leading the way. So, look, overall, he's done an amazing job. He's brought in some really good sponsors now too, with Atlassian Williams Racing.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell the people where James Vowles comes from?
Mercedes.
Yeah. This is an experienced guy. This was always a good move for Williams. I would say we felt pretty hyped when we heard about this news. Toto gave him a lot of praise, said that he was, pretty much his second hand in command. Like James Vowles was very highly regarded around the paddock. I don't want to say he could have gone anywhere. Like Red Bull, Red Bull's obviously going to stick with Horner, but at that time, who knows? Anyway, this was a really good move by Williams because you have James Vowles is the reason why you were able to get Carlos Sainz. The reason why you were able to keep and extend Alex Albon. The reason why you're in P5. Williams was a dumpster fire literally a couple of years ago. Now, you don't know what the potential is. P5 this year, you keep building, you keep gaining these resources. Man, I mean, off the top of your head, do you know where Williams finished in constructors last year?
I think they finished in P9.
P9 to P5. I don't even know the dollar amount, but the dollar difference in the constructors' earnings based on P5 to P9 is
pretty massive.
Got to be
it's tens of millions of dollars.
I mean, that's the kind of move. Those are the kind of steps that can catapult a team into being a contender.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of really big moves come alongside of Vowles as well. Excuse me, the Doralton sponsor that sits in the car, that's the investor group that actually owns the team. Mm-hmm. So they bought the team in 2020, back in 2020 for $152 million, trying to turn around that project. And obviously things were not working out with, Frank Williams' daughter. Going in the direction of James Vowles, though, they've gone from default, just back marker team to a team that's right now sitting in this midfield conversation almost halfway through the season. They have a good trajectory. Even last year when they were struggling, the messaging was always, because the prior season they landed like P7 as a surprise. Nobody really expected it. They go back to P9. The messaging was always, look, we're looking at the next regulation, and whether we do well or we do poorly, it's not like we're not going to show up and we're not going to compete on Sundays. Right. But this is a team that is focused on the future, trying to just build the damn thing from scratch. When he walked in, I remember comments from him saying, we've got technology here competing against the greatest racing teams in the world. We've been using stuff that's 30 years old.
I remember those comments as well. Yeah.
So just rebuilding the damn project has been massive. The expectations have not been high, whether they do well or do poorly. This project is aiming at 2026 and beyond. And right now they're ahead of schedule, like I mentioned a little bit ago. I'm incredibly excited to see what Williams do walking into the sport. Watching a team go from bad to great or bad to even good, it's always a feel-good story. Us being newer Formula One fans, our entire background of watching Williams racing has been, they're at the back. They might do something special a little bit, and special being landing in the points, but just understanding the history. This is a championship riddled organization from back in the day with Frank Williams, Nigel Mansell, Alan Prost, winning championships back in the day. Nicholas Tiffy. So look, all that to say, having Williams back towards the front, having Williams as one of the premier faces of Formula One as a team perspective provides so much to the history, and it just keeps things interesting. It's the same way, at least in my eyes, of watching Ferrari be towards the front, fighting for wins. Williams have a lot of history of doing the same thing. McLaren have a lot of history of doing the same thing. When those classic organizations and brands are fighting at the front, it helps build the history of the sport, and it makes things more interesting.
If Formula One wants Williams to be good, yeah, for sure.
I think we do too. And if you're a fan, let us know what you think of this Williams project down in the comments. Like, we do want to hear from you guys. Maybe it sounds like a broken record. Oh, Tristan's ending the segment because he's asking for comments. But like, we really do want to hear from you guys. So let us know what you think of this project. I love seeing the direction that Williams are going in. Speaking of Carlos Sainz, anyway.
Okay, I was gonna say
his pops. Yeah, you wanted to see where that transition.
Yeah.
His pops. We talked about this a little bit.
This is a bummer, man.
About a month or so ago, I think. At this point,
yeah,
the potential of Carlos Sainz Sr., the champion rally car driver winner. He was thinking about running for the FIA presidency against Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Detailed this in length about what that candidacy would look like, why Mohammed Ben Sulayem might be on the way out, or why people are trying to usurp that presidency in the first place. I'm not going to go into every single detail once again. I think I'll tag a bubble here in the video so you guys can click on that and watch some more. But the bad news, unfortunately, Carlos Sainz Sr. is not presenting himself as a candidate for this winter's FIA presidency. So far, Mohammed Ben Sulayem is going to remain uncontested. There have been some murmurs around the racing world that maybe Susie Wolff could be in this mix as well, but so far, no candidate has stepped forward.
It's a bummer. I was kind of looking forward to this. I wanted to get someone that was experienced, in the field, someone that was a driver, someone that was going to be able to speak from perspective. And Carlos Sainz Sr. was somebody that represented that really well. I'm still holding out hope that Susie maybe gives it a run, maybe gives it a thought or two.
She's got the support of pretty much the entire sport.
For sure.
Obviously, she'll build F1 Academy into what it is now. They got the whole docudrama series on Netflix too. Like, she's a big part of it. Obviously, her husband being who her husband is, but she's built
on her own right.
She's built up a whole lot, all on her own.
Yeah.
So like Susie Wolff's for real. And I'd be very interested to see if she does.
I think this is, though Carlos Sainz Sr. is out, I think that the race for the FIA presidency, as you said, it's going to heat up at some point. It's going to be something that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on.
And we're definitely
it's gonna hold a lot of weight for the future. And
and because like the background of this in a quick nutshell, as far as Mohammed Ben Sulayem, why is he being challenged or being talked about being challenged in the first place? As far as leadership's considered, there have been a lot of dissent into his leadership in regards to things like swearing penalties, how penalties have been allocated, from how he leads behind closed doors, and a lot of key figures within the FIA who govern not just Formula One, but other series, Formula 2, even down to IndyCar, looking over to World Rally Championships, etc. This is the entire sporting body that decides rules, decides regulations, and there's just been a lot of chatter from behind the scenes, from people on record, off record, talking about the style of leadership that MBS brings not being terribly favorable or maybe even healthy for racing as a whole. So there is a lot of concern about who will be leading the FIA moving forward, and it's something that we're going to try to do our best to keep you up to speed on. You're going to see probably a lot more rumors as the rest of this year develops. I would be curious to see exactly when somebody will truly come forward, there has to be a lot of grassroots behind them in the background, a lot of pulling of officials, so to speak, to get them to say and praise your candidacy. But we'll see where this goes. Even if it doesn't end up flipping, it's still going to be worth talking about, worth conversationally. But
by the way, I was right.
With what? Yes, 5?
5.
When?
That's what I was trying to find because I knew your ass was going to ask me when.
Because when I looked at the official Red Bull Ring website, it said 4, 2018, 19, 21, and 23.
Let me look.
Okay. Are we going to transition into this, or are we gonna?
No, you're going to give me a damn second.
You're going to make me flounder and fill in space while you do.
You're fine. You don't have to flounder or fill in nothing.
I don't want to sit here and keep the people, guessing and waiting.
I think they're on the edge of their seat trying to figure out if I'm right or not.
Trying to figure out if
they love it when I'm
going
right.
to prove you correct or wrong.
Yeah, they love it when I'm right. Hold on. Let's see.
This is great. This is absolute peak podcasting right now. I guess I'll just take this moment to also ask you guys, if you've gotten this far into the video and you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe to the Formula One podcast. We are brought to you today by nobody, just ourselves.
If you want to pay us, though, that'd be sick. So just let us know. You want us to drink your energy drinks or
we have a nice
sponsor
space,
literally whatever you want
right here in the background. That would be perfect for maybe a brand logo, something. Man, you were taking your sweet time to figure out exactly how many race wins that Max Verstappen has in Austria. But
because I want to prove you wrong so bad.
just mid pod.
18, 19, 21,
he also
23,
got it in
and 24.
He also got it in 24. No. Last year is 2024. That was George Russell.
It says F1 News.
Last year was George Russell, though.
I don't know, dude.
All right, you let us know down in the comments.
I'm only backing myself because this is what I literally read. This is literally what I saw. Whatever, forget it. Just agree to disagree. I don't know.
Right,
whatever.
We're just gonna pretend.
We're just gonna cut all that out. Probably. No, we won't. We don't. We're not. We don't.
All right. Let's flip it over. You said you were prepared. He said he was prepared for this.
I'm sticking with 5 wins. Okay, so don't correct me.
Well, you should have put the years down. All right. Go ahead. It's time for track talk. We are walking into the Red Bull Ring, and Kevin feels prepared. He's ready to take it away this week.
Lights, camera. Austria.
Austria.
That was a hot start, isn't it?
Wow. We're doing great.
Yeah, I know. Spielberg, Austria, which is the home for Red Bull. What are their fans called? What do they call themselves?
What?
Yeah, because they got a different color, orange.
You talking about just Max fans in general?
Max fans, Red Bull fans, whatever.
I don't know.
Okay. Unprepared. Home for Red Bull. They renovated the track. That's why it's called the Red Bull Ring. Originally dubbed the name, and I pray that I'm saying this correctly, the Ring. Do you know if that's correct?
I had it written down as well, actually.
Do you know how to say it?
Ring. Yeah.
So I think I said it right. I think it stands for Austrian circuit. I keep saying Australian. I always mess these up too. That's the bummer. All right. 1969 to 95 is when it was under the name Ring. Then it turned into the A1 ring from 96 to 03. Then it was rebuilt and extended because it did not meet the regulations the F1 wanted it to meet. Then it was bought, renovated, and redone after almost many failed projects. It turned into the Red Bull Ring, which we got in 2011, debuted in 2013, and it has remained as such to the present day. Like I said before, many failed discussions and plans between Red Bull. It was almost bought by a couple of other different people. But did you know that it would debuted in 2013 after the Grand Prix of America that was set to be raced in New York fell through? So Red Bull offered the Red Bull Ring to be used for the first time since F1 did approve it. It went well, and they put it back in the calendar, and we've had it since.
Okay. Nice.
Socks are off.
Very interesting.
For some names of the turns that we got, so you got 10 turns at the Red Bull Ring. Turn 1 is in honor of the great Niki Lauda. Then you've got the Remus at turn 2, the Worth the Worth Curve at turn 7, and then the Red Bull Mobile, which is at turn 10. Some history. Max is probably going to get his own section in this race when it's all said and done, because he does have the most wins, as we spoke before. 5-time winner, more than anyone ever. And again, that dates back to when the track debuted in 1970. We'll see who's right. Some of these specs, there's 3 DRS zones. It was first used in 1970, as I said before. 71 laps. It's a shorter track, so more laps are needed. Carlos Sainz owns the fastest lap in the McLaren with a 1 minute, 5 second, and 600th in 6/10 in 2020. Something that we're going to be looking for. It's got fast straights with fast turns. Power is going to be, if you have a powerful car more than the rest, it's going to suit you very well. It's going to be very turn crazy towards the end, which again, short lap, quick speeds. It's going to be something that Max Verstappen is going to be wanting, something McLaren's going to be wanting. I don't quite know how this is going to suit Ferrari, and we'll see how Mercedes is going to be able to hold it. And again, last year, George was the winner. Piastri took P2, and Sainz took P3.
So as far as the shortest track,
now I'm wondering if it's including, did he win the sprint last year?
Yes, he won the sprint. He did not win the feature race. So
I think that's what that number is. That's the only thing I can think of as I was reading that off.
Maybe, but George won the actual race,
the
Grand Prix race. So anyway, the Red Bull Ring, funny enough, is one of the shortest tracks in this F1 calendar as well.
Said that.
But which other tracks are shorter? It is not the shortest. It is
okay. I didn't know it was going to turn into trivia,
because it is the 4th shortest track on the F1 calendar, behind Monaco, Mexico, and Brazil.
I could have guessed Monaco.
It has the fastest qualifying time. 16.1 second expected time loss during the pits. Carlos Sainz does in fact have the race speed record, or fastest lap record.
Repeating me.
But qualifying, the fastest lap ever set at the Red Bull Ring, 1 minute, 2 seconds and 9/10 by Valtteri Bottas in 2020, the same year. 3 DRS zones. First winner of in Austria, at least, of at the time named the Österreich Ring, before it was named the A1 Ring, and then before the Red Bull Ring, Jackie Ickx of Ferrari in 1970. So, and there's a lot of history at this darn place.
A lot. And it's a very beautiful track. Extremely beautiful scenery.
Yes. Biggest moments in its history that I was able to pull together and find and check out. Some interesting notes. Vittorio Brambilla, after 29 laps in toured racing conditions in 1975, that brought the race to an early end. The March driver threw his hands up in celebration for taking the flag first. And then guess what happened? He crashed the damn car.
Yeah.
His one and only career Grand Prix win, by the way. 1984, you already mentioned this gentleman, one of the greatest of all time. Niki Lauda won the Austrian Grand Prix, his home race, without 4th gear, racing between 3rd and 5th, and he managed to fend off Nelson Piquet. And not once, but twice in the Austrian Grand Prix history have there been deer on track.
I did hear about that. That one was something that I heard about later on after I finished my notes.
1987, during a practice, a deer was hit by the McLaren of Stefan Johansson at over 220 kilometers an hour, injuring Johansson's ribs, which at this point, I'm surprised just his ribs were broken. 2001, Williams driver Juan Pablo Montoya's race engineer alerted him of a deer running across the track, with Montoya shouting, "Oh dear."
Nice.
Following that with an explanation that the engineer said it looked like a horse with horns. 2002.
That would be a deer.
Yeah, it would be a deer.
Or a moose.
2002, Rubens Barrichello let teammate Michael Schumacher by. The Ferrari driver was told to relinquish the race win in 2002 in order to help Michael's fight for the World Drivers' Championship that season. And then in 2019, Max Verstappen versus Charles Leclerc. Max dropped back to 9th place after starting on the front row alongside the Ferrari of Charles. Eventually caught Leclerc with just a few laps to go. A huge move into turn 3 on lap 69 to take the lead with a little bit of contact, which we know Max is more than acquainted with.
He likes contact.
And then took it all the way home. Oh, one other thing I almost forgot. It has the 2nd highest elevation change over 1 lap on the current F1 calendar, behind only what? Fun fact, fun trivia.
Yeah,
let us know what you think it is down in the comments. Don't Google it. Let me know right now. Right now. Okay, what do you think it is?
I would say
elevation change.
Yeah,
Can go in either
elevation
direction
change. I don't know. Just tell me.
Spa. The downhill.
Yeah.
Right, or by proxy, the uphill too. So I think it's actually the uphill portion is Eau Rouge. I can't remember if it was the downhill, or the
which
uphill.
Makes the Red Bull Ring a quick circuit.
No, I think it might be the uphill. Anyway, the Red Bull Ring, an insanely quick circuit. Now it's time to predict this darn thing, since you have things to do soon. P10 predictions. Let's take a look at that graph. Let me scoot on in here.
I'm doing better.
You had a good weekend.
I'm doing better.
That's not true. You had a 4-point weekend, but neither did I. I only had a 6-point weekend. Look, this gap, I told you, over the course of an entire season, this thing can get a little bit closer.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was looking really bad.
All you need is a good weekend, though.
I don't hate Luka. I don't hate having Luka Doncic numbers.
70.
Go ahead, name someone with 122. You can't. You lost that opportunity. Who's your DNF?
I actually haven't written anything down yet, but
all right. Well, I want a DNF out of you. I'm conducting.
You're conducting now?
Yeah. Who's your DNF?
My DNF for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm gonna go with Liam Lawson.
Not a bad one. Yeah, he's a consistent one in the Destructors Championship. I'm going to go with a rookie. This rookie drives green. I'm going with Gabriel Bortoleto.
Bortoleto?
We're on Bortoleto.
Okay. Well,
sorry, Bortoleto, for the random strike.
Who do you got for P10?
No, I'm conducting.
Okay.
Who's your race winner?
My race winner, I think I already kind of walked this one up in the earlier portion of the podcast. I am actually going to go with Oscar Piastri.
I'm also going with Oscar Piastri.
How original.
Look, man, I'm trying to get points. Well, you know what? If
we would cancel out at this point.
If you're going with Piastri.
Pun intended.
If you're going with Piastri, then
commit.
For points only, I'll go with Lando.
You're going to go with Lando?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, who's your P10? That is what we do this game for. This one was tough.
Yeah?
This one was tough for me to come up with.
I think my P10, I'm going to go with...
I'm afraid we're going to have the same person.
So usually I write these out before I get here. I'm trying to think. I want to go with... My gut's telling me... Oh, man. I'm going to go with Alex Albon. I think he's gonna.
Okay.
I think he's gonna break his unlucky streak from Spain and Canada, and I think he's gonna get some points.
Okay.
I think.
I don't hate that at all. Actually, mine's going to go to Yuki Tsunoda only because I think this track does suit the Red Bull.
Man, I was really almost.
I was afraid you were gonna say Yuki Tsunoda.
I was really thinking about Yuki Tsunoda, so we were close.
All right, so yeah, I'm going with Yuki Tsunoda for my P10.
You let us know your predictions down in the comments.
You can play with us, and we'll keep you up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fun time. If you haven't seen this before, you've been watching the podcast this whole time, look, this is a really fun way that we go through each race weekend leading up to it. We got a fun game here. We pick, as you heard, whoever's going to come in 10th place for the feature race, whoever's going to DNF first, you get points for that, and whoever wins the race, you get some extra bonus points for that too. So this is a really fun way that we just walk through each weekend. But now I know that you're excited for this next segment because we covered it on the last podcast. We want to look at y'all's comments. You drop them on social media. You see us on Instagram. You see us on TikTok. Give us a follow. But also YouTube, we're checking comments. We see what you guys write. And if we get an opportunity to, we like to discuss some of the best ones that we've seen over the course of the week right here on the podcast. So let's just start this thing off. We saw this one here on TikTok. Is that correct?
Yeah, this one's from TikTok. I do believe we have a comment from every media.
Okay. Oh, really? That's our first.
I think
our first triple.
I think.
Okay, we'll see. So the question proposed under the George Russell, is he the best driver not in a McLaren? We got this one from what's his name here? Codius. All right. I don't know. I still think we'll see a Lando Oscar situation, and we'll surpass George in 2 years. Okay, so talking about Kimi Antonelli. I think he's saying, I think, and Codius, please feel free to respond. I think where it says I think it's supposed to say Antonelli, excuse me.
I think he's saying that you see an Antonelli, Lando, and Oscar situation.
Okay, yeah.
Ant will pass George in 2 years.
I appreciate you clearing this one up for me. Do you want to start this one, or should I, as the resident Mercedes fan?
I'll let you address this one. We're running tight on time, and then I'll do the next one.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of the hope. I mean, for Mercedes, for Toto Wolff, like, I don't think that, respectfully, I think that George is a bit better than Lando was with this kind of, at least at this stage of his career in comparison to where he's having a new teammate come in. But I think that's the hope for Mercedes, is that Antonelli will be at least competing with George really, or making it really tough on him within these next 2 to 3 years. Antonelli's only 18. Obviously, we've talked about him a ton on this podcast. You can't not talk about him. He's probably the best rookie driver, at least alongside Isaac Hadjar this year. And the hopes are incredibly high. I'm insanely excited. If you ask me right now, my favorite driver on the grid it's probably Kimi. I love watching the kid drive. I'm really excited to see where he's going to go. I would not be floored if he's beating George Russell, even in, let's say, by this time next year, now that he'll have had all the Grand Prix weekends underneath his belt. He'll be a lot more familiar with how it all works. Once he's up to speed, I've seen what he did in F2 last year, getting normalized and like understanding how it all works. The kid can win and he can compete at a very, very, very high level. But that's the hope. You want Antonelli to be pushing George. You want these guys to be kind of duking it out. And if Mercedes have a badass car to start in 2026, Kimi's going to have at least this year under his belt of experience. Shoot, I have no clue. I would still say George is probably my favorite in that instance a year from now, but 2 years from now, this comment actually has some legs here. I like this comment. It's a fun thought experiment.
Thank you, Codius. Please comment back and let us know if we answered what you were wanting and if we interpreted your question correctly. This one from CNC Dan 1364. I do believe this one's on YouTube. The best drivers aren't in the McLaren. Spelled it wrong. It's okay. Happens. I said Australia, so whatever. The best drivers aren't in the McLaren. They have the best car. Again, I think this comment does have some legs. I think that's an understandable comment. I would say at this juncture that Oscar could be proven as the better driver between the two. I wouldn't say Lando's outside of the top 5 of best drivers, but no, I do not think the 2 best drivers in Formula One are in this car. I do think one of the better drivers in Formula One is in this car.
I think for sure. You could argue that we talked about this going into the season. They're probably the second best driver duo just based on talent on the grid, because we had Charles and Lewis above them.
We did. I would change that now.
But I don't even know if it's their problem.
Even then, you look at the constructors, and they're absolutely dominating. Again, yes, the car
being the emphasis of this comment, but like overall talent, I think I like Charles the most among those three. And Lewis is a 7-time world champion.
Yeah, you can't discount him. But I would just say purely out of
like when the car
youth, and we don't entirely know what Oscar could be yet. I mean, I think
we're seeing a lot of what Oscar could be right now.
Yeah, and I think that there's potential for growth. I really like this comment.
As far as the best driver on the grid right now, though, I mean, look, we're living in the Max Verstappen era as it stands. I mean, like
he's driving a little
overall
car,
talent. The dude's disgusting.
Yeah, really like this comment. CNC Dan 1364. Comment back. Let us know if we answered it correctly. If you have a follow up, we'll definitely get back to that. Really appreciate that. This one's my favorite comment. That's why we saved it for last. From Alex R. Hein. I'm gonna say that's Hein.
Okay.
Hein.
Sure.
Just without the Heineken, just Hein. My comment not being posted on how hot Kevin is a crime against humanity, and I could not agree more.
So I'm gonna answer this one.
I mean, there's joking aside. I appreciate it.
It's a nice compliment. We appreciate it, Alex.
Yeah, I work all day, and then I come in here and
look a little bit of a hot mess.
A little bit of a hot mess.
I don't think this is like your peak beauty. I mean, you got the flow going though.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
But I maybe a shave.
Yeah, I do need.
But no, we appreciate you. We appreciate you guys looking out. Really nice of you.
Hey, be sure to comment. We'll make you famous, sort of. As famous as we can make you.
As famous as 60 subscribers, or maybe 69 by the end of the month.
Could be the 69th. You never know. But yes, be sure you comment. We'll mention it. We'll feature it. We'll respond back. We'll have a little fun banter here and there. Nothing hateful. Keep that crap to yourself. But as always, we're scrolling on it.
We got one more.
You know where to find us.
We got one more thing to touch on really quickly.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. Just. Hey, F1 movie's out this weekend. Just one more time. Hey, look, it's here. And as of this episode dropping, general audiences will finally get to see this massively marketed flick. I'm excited. I'm seeing it this Friday, going out of town to visit some friends. I know Kevin's also got some plans to watch it as well. So we got a lot of cool stuff. As far as this movie is concerned, I'm really excited. Kevin and I actually both got the movie popcorn buckets. for this. So I know that we're both excited. Kevin and his lady are probably going to be seeing it this weekend, going out and seeing it with a whole bunch of my friends, a lot of other Formula One fans as well. So I know that I'm incredibly excited for this episode or for this movie. I'm hoping that the drama part of it is fun, but not. I want a sense of realism, but I want this to be a fun damn movie. If people are getting introduced to the sport through this movie, that's going to be incredibly exciting. And I think it's going to be good for the sport, no matter which way you cut it. Growth of the sport, more eyeballs on the sport. That's only going to do good things for this sport. But with all that being said, and I guess I'll take over from here. That's going to do it for this episode of the Lap Podcast. I know Kevin had to run out and take care of some work stuff. We're kind of up against it for him. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for listening to this episode. If you haven't joined the rest of the TLPs yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing. Helps us move on up the algorithm and puts us in front of F1 fans like yourselves and helps grow this amazing community. We already got all these comments that have been coming through and that we've had the opportunity to interact with right here on the podcast. And we want you guys to be one of those. So please subscribe, comment, hell, share us if you're feeling dangerous. If you want to interact even more, hit us up on social media. But until next time, be safe, be well, and let's go racing.